So who are you? That is one of the questions that we are going to ask ourselves today. We're going to dive into some simple facts about who you are in the Lord's eyes. And then more importantly, what do you do with it? So I hope you had a great Christmas. Spent some time with your family. Enjoyed those 86,400 seconds each day. Hopefully the family interactions didn't bog you down. But you know what? If they did, that's okay. Because God's big and He's awesome. And maybe He allowed some discomfort to bubble up. Maybe He allowed some things to happen a certain way to expose some old hurts, some old thought processes, some things that He wants to deal with in your life. And we're going to wrap up this new year with encouragement. I want to encourage you to look at your life through a different lens. And leave here today seeing yourself through different eyes and seeing what God can do in and through you. So the title of today's message is It's Time to Slim Down. And if you notice, slim is a play on words, and you'll understand more about that. This is not a message on weight training. This is not a message on fad diets. If that's something that the Lord is putting in your heart for the new year, by all means go for it. But that's not the angle I'm taking today. I want to dive into who are you? Because when you get that and you look at yourself the way the Lord sees you, it can change everything. So I want you to repeat after me, I am slim. Let's do that one more time for fun. I am slim. Basic facts. I did not make any of this up. This is what the Lord thinks about you right now as is. Whatever baggage you have, whatever hurts you have, whatever you've done. At the bare minimum, so we're going to set the baseline right here. You are slim. And slim is a play on words. The M, the first thing, is you are a masterpiece. And for a lot of you, that is hard to hear. That's even harder to say. Because when we look at ourselves, we don't see the masterpiece, we see the flaws. We see all the things that we've done, that we didn't do, and we struggle. And that's not where we should be. So check this out. Psalm 139:14. This is King David talking to the Lord. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are marvelous, and my soul knows that full well. Now, we could just run right through that and miss a lot. But I want you to pick up these three key words: fearfully, wonderfully, and marvelous. Normally, those are not three words that you associate with yourselves. But guess what? You should. Every day. Now, here's what's interesting. Fearfully, when you look it up in the original Hebrew, it means to cause awe. Modern day translation, awesome. So say this, repeat after me. As much as it might hurt, we're going to exercise some of those muscles today. I am awesome. That's not very convincing, and that's okay. I want to say it again. I am awesome. Wonderfully means distinct and distinguished. Translation, one of a kind. So far, you're awesome, and you're one of a kind. There's no one else like you. Even identical twins are different. There is no one else like you that walks the face of this earth. And God designed it like that for a reason. So let's try this again. Repeat after me. I am one of a kind. And I am awesome. Marvelous. Marvelous means difficult to do or understand. So when they wrote this, the old Hebrew, that's what that word means. You can glaze over like marvelous. Okay, difficult to do or understand, beyond one's power. So you are difficult to understand, difficult to do for a reason. You are one of a kind, and you're awesome. That is the baseline for how the Lord wants you to look at your life. And that is hard to hear, and I know that, but that's why I am sharing this with you today, because some of you need to realize that you are a masterpiece. I'm going to put a picture up on the screen. This picture is titled Woman in Gold. And this is a painting of Adele Bloch-Bauer in 1907. And this was a masterpiece to the Jewish people in Austria. And when the Nazis invaded, they stole everything. And they confiscated this picture, which was a prized possession for this particular family. And after the war ended, the Austrian government, it remained with them, and it remained in a museum. And it became a very interesting battle over whose it was. And it was the rightful possession of the family. And there's a movie that came out called Woman in Gold, and it's about Maria Altman. And she went and fought against the Austrian government to get this back because it was her family's. It was a masterpiece. It was a prized possession. And it's a beautiful story, and she got it back. And when it came back to the States, a private collector paid $135 million for that picture. And it's on display. Now, the difference between that masterpiece and all of these masterpieces right here, there is no human interaction. It is locked up. It is sealed off away. These masterpieces were designed for human interaction. Were designed to be used. And that's where the S and the N come in. Salty and luminous. Okay, wait a second, Eric. Are you calling me salty? Are you saying I'm bitter and nasty? Not at all. I'm simply using an adjective of what Jesus describes in Matthew 5. Because Matthew 5:13, and he's very specific, talking to his disciples, and he says, you are the salt of the earth. Remember, I said I'm just talking about facts. I'm just sharing the facts. You are the salt of the earth. Why would Jesus be so specific and call us the salt of the earth? What does salt do? What is it used for? It preserves and prevents decay. Maybe Jesus wasn't so crazy. I lived up north for 3 years in Maryland. Do you know what they do before a massive snowstorm comes? They salt the roads. And then afterwards, they do more, because what does salt do? It melts ice. Maybe cold, icy hearts that come in contact with the salt of the earth might have a transformational experience. And it preserves meat. Do you think Jesus knew what he was doing when he called us the salt of the earth? Now, what else is interesting is in old times, salt was a precious commodity. We look at it, it's on the table, whatever. You can buy it anywhere and everywhere. Back then, it was a precious commodity. Oftentimes, Roman soldiers were paid in salt. Another interesting fact of why would Jesus call us the salt of the earth? Maybe because we are a precious commodity that is designed to interact with others. And here's what's really cool. Whatever comes in contact with salt cannot deny it. Have you tasted salt by itself? Your taste buds know it, and they can't deny it. You seeing the theme here? Who are you? You're a masterpiece, handcrafted by the Lord. You're the salt of the earth. You were designed to prevent decay, to add flavor to the world around you. And lastly, you're luminous. What does that mean? That means just that. You cause light. And I didn't say it. Matthew 5:14a says, you are the light of the world. Now, what's really neat about this is that he calls himself the same thing. Jesus said, I am the light of the world. So why would he call us as his disciples the light of the world? Check out this picture. This is a cool flashlight. This is a pitch dark path, and a simple flashlight lights it up. Darkness cannot compete with light. The second that flashlight goes on, it illuminates everything around it. And it eliminates the darkness. It makes seeing a whole lot easier, especially in those dark and scary places. And if you think about sunlight, sunlight actually warms. So do you think Jesus was crazy when he called us the salt of the earth and the light of the world? No. That is who we are. It's not a challenge, it's a fact. That's who we are. Salty, luminous masterpieces. That is the baseline. That is what God sees and what God thinks when he looks at you. Is that uncomfortable? Maybe. Is it odd? Maybe. But it's the truth. And just thinking like that every day can revolutionize your life. And we could stop here. I could be, you know what? Quickest message ever, we're out of here. There's more to it. That's just setting the stage. You are a salty, luminous masterpiece. Let's say that out loud for fun. I am a salty, luminous masterpiece. Let's try that one more time. I am a salty, luminous masterpiece. You tracking with me? Good. So what do you do with it? That's great, Eric. What do you do with that, though? I'm feeling it. I feel a whole lot better now. Thanks for pointing that out. What do I do with that? We're going to dive in a little bit further into Matthew 5. The first thing that you've got to do with it is you need to guard your heart and preserve your flavor. Matthew 5:13b says, "But if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it season? It is then good for nothing, but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by people." Thanks, Eric. I feel so much better about myself right now. Thanks for lifting me up and then telling me that if I screw up, I'm going to be trampled. That's not what it's saying. You got to dive into the text to understand what Jesus is doing here. And I don't think his intent was to have a science experiment. I think he's asking a very question. what would salt be good for if it lost its flavor? Now, what's interesting, I'll show you a cool picture. What's interesting is the salt, it's often gathered in vats like this. And it's pulled off to the side, and it's separated. In the Dead Sea and over in the Middle East, there's areas where it looks like salt, but it isn't. It has no flavor. Could that be what Jesus was talking about when he made this reference? Possibly. It wasn't uncommon to see white crystalline substance that looks like salt after the actual salt was scraped off. It really wasn't. Our world, how does salt lose its saltiness? It gets diluted. You put it in a big thing of water, and that salt can lose its flavor, just like that. So what is he saying here about be careful not to lose your flavor? You got to dive a little further. Proverbs chapter 4, 23 and 27. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. So how do you guard your heart in a world where it's so easy to be deluded, to lower standards and morals? How do you guard your heart to preserve your flavor so that when others interact with you, they experience the love of Jesus? We're going to dive down in here. First is keep your mouth free of perversity. Keep corrupt talk far from your lips. So perverse, when you look it up, in the original Hebrew, it means to turn away, to depart. To depart from what? To depart from the truth. Fraudulent, deceitful, and false. Applying that to our world, lying, double standards, being two-faced, saying one thing and doing another. You want to lose your flavor? Do those things and watch what happens. And unfortunately, it happens more than we like to admit. But it doesn't have to be like that. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Leaving the past in the past. Striving on to what is ahead. Being quick to forgive. Quick to change. Living in the present tense, which is often easier said than done, but yet again, we're on December 31st, and that chapter is turning into a new year. What things are you still holding on to that are bringing you down and keeping you focused from ahead? That deep down is impacting your impact to others. Give careful thought to the paths for your feet and be steadfast in all your ways. It's thinking about it. It's weighing the cost benefit, looking at the options, having wise counsel, having other people around that you can interact with and talk to and seek guidance from. Not jumping foolishly into something because everybody else is doing it. Or it's the fad of the new year. Having a pulse check in place that if you do step out, you know it. And you have people in your lives that are bold enough and love you enough to tell you. Don't turn to the right or the left. Keep your foot from evil. Let's be honest. Right and wrong, it's pretty straightforward. But when it gets diluted, it's not as. So guard your heart. Keep those walls up. Keep that flavor fresh. Because what you don't realize is every person that you interact with, they know something's different about you. And they watch it play out. And it's amazing. It's amazing if you stop and think, you just being you, a salty, luminous masterpiece, is changing lives around you. So guard your heart, don't lose your flavor. Number 2 is keep the light on. Keep the light on. If you dive further into Matthew 5, a city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. So if you're the light of the world, you're not designed to be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand. And it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before yourself that you may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Oh, whoops, that's not what that said. Hold on. Let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Guess what? It's not about you and it's not about me. It's not about us. You're a salty, luminous masterpiece by design so that others will see what the Lord is doing in your life and they will be drawn to that and want to know how and what, why, and all the above, and they would have a transformational experience with Jesus Christ, and they would praise our Father in heaven. See, we are our own worst critics and our own worst enemy. We don't even have to leave the house and it's World War III. In here, I'm not even talking about with your family. In here can be World War III all the time. And we think we have to have it all figured out. That there's this rule list that we have to abide by. Pastor Chris had a great devotion for us before the service about how his kids have this list of all the rules if you enter their room. And the Lord showed him, like, listen, when you come into my room or my house, there's not this list. You just bring yourself in, and we'll work through it together. We are our own worst critics and our own worst enemy. If you're the light of the world, why would you want to hide that? Check out this picture of this lighthouse. In sheer comedy and foolishness, that would be like all of us scaling that lighthouse with blankets and trying to cover that light. Who would do that? I mean, seriously, who would do that? That lighthouse is there for a reason. It's a beacon of hope. It warns. It says, hey, caution, there's land and rocks here, be careful. And ships know where to steer and where not to steer. Why would somebody want to cover that up and hide that from the ships that are not there yet, from the people that are not here yet, and hide that? That would be disastrous. We are the light of the world, designed to give off the light of the Lord, to draw others in, to direct, to help. And we can't do that in isolation. Whatever comes in contact with light cannot deny it. Remember when Hurricane Irma hit? It was only 3 months ago. It's pretty weird. Or 4 months ago. Feels like eons ago. We lost power at my house for 4 days. And the second that power went out, the neighborhood was pitch black. And I went outside with my little flashlight that was the size of my finger, and it illuminated the whole yard. And everybody else around me that had their lights on, you knew it. You could see it. It was beautiful. Why would I take my flashlight and hide it under my shirt so my wife and my kids couldn't see where they were going inside of our house? That would be kind of weird, wouldn't it? Kind of mean and selfish and nasty. We can't see, Daddy. You'll get over it. That light is designed, in the old days, they put them on giant stands because the higher that light went up, the more light went out in the room. And it gave light to all who were in the house. We are the light of the world, designed to shine and encourage and protect and guide others through what they're going through. And you can't do that isolated and hidden. So, last point. What do you do with it? So you guard your heart, you keep your light on, and you exit the comfort zone. You exit the comfort zone. John 3:30 says, I must become less, and he must become more. See, what's interesting, if you look in the slim, it's capital S, capital L, lowercase I, capital M. Some of you are probably thinking, why was the I lowercase? The I is lowercase because it's less of I, less of us, less of me, less of you, more of the salty, luminous masterpiece flowing and working. And me and you getting out of the way and getting over ourselves so the Lord can work in and through us. See, more of us means more limited perspective, more of what has been, more of the status quo. Very little mess, very little craziness. Life in cruise control. Having our list, checking our boxes, and repeating every day. Andy Stanley, who's one of my favorite speakers, has this amazing quote that I've held on to for the last 15 years. And it's before progress comes change, and before change comes a challenge. So if you play that out, there's always a challenge. And then there's change, and then there's progress. We want the progress. And think back over the last half decade. Some things have just cycled and cycled and cycled and cycled and cycled and cycled, and you're in the same spot mentally that you were before. You can't figure out why. There's a challenge, but there's been no change. I said earlier, over the last week and a half, maybe the Lord has allowed some things to play out in your life to expose your heart in ways that it hasn't been exposed before. Maybe he has let things rise up to the surface to show you that it's there and it's time to clean it out. See, less of you and more of Jesus means leaving the comfort zone. I'll show you this cool picture. In our heads, that little sliver outside of the comfort zone, that's what is feared. We fear God taking our lives and dumping it upside down and shaking things up so much that we will not know what to do with ourselves. That he's going to break us and screw things up that we have built and designed. Capital I. But the reality of it is that temporary discomfort is literally temporary. We want the progress, but we're not changing. And to change, we've got to get out of the comfort zone. Our culture makes the comfort zone so easy and so convenient, and it is highly addictive. Why would we want to leave? And I can tell you, when Hurricane Irma hit, I got chucked out of my comfort zone. And I had vivid memories of, there's no air conditioning. How am I going to sleep? Well, there's little kids in Haiti, Eric, that don't have any air conditioning, and they sleep just fine. Oh, good point, Lord. We don't need half of the things that we think we need, and we stay in that comfort zone because it's less messy, it's easy, and we're in control. The challenge is to get over ourselves, to drop the capital I to a lowercase I, to allow the salt and the light to really start to flow, to let the masterpiece that the Lord designed for you to really be shown, to let others come in contact. See, there's no contact there, there's that buffer. Other people need you. Let me repeat myself. Other people need you. This church needs you. Your neighborhood needs you. Your community needs you. And they need to know the hope and the life that you have. See, all the mess that you've navigated through, it's simply the content for your message of hope and life that you can share with others that are going through the same mess that you're going through. They need to know there's hope to get through it, that life is not over. But you will never share that if you're in your comfort zone. See, you're an atmosphere changer. Salt and light change the environment that they are in. And Jesus was very specific that you are the salt of the earth and the light of the world. And you are a masterpiece, one of a kind, designed to create awe. See, we serve a God who is in the business of re-engineering and recreating. Whatever you have been through, whatever is going on currently that is causing you to doubt that you are a salty, luminous masterpiece, that's got to stop. That's part of slimming down. Those old thoughts, those old ways, that's got to stop. There is a world that needs you. And it's a choice. Do I stay in the comfort zone? Or do I push through that little barrier and realize that there's a bigger world, there's a bigger purpose, there's a bigger design for my life, and people are waiting? You are a walking miracle. Every day you get out of bed and embrace that fact is a day the enemy and the gates of hell tremble. And that comfort zone has been made so easy because those that are in the comfort zone are not a threat. The walls of this church have been changing over the last year. Not the physical walls. The design, the infrastructure, the perspective. And this community needs us. As a church, we're going to be getting out of the comfort zone. As individuals, we're going to be getting out of the comfort zone. The Lord has placed things on your heart that you did not do in 2017. And his grace is sufficient and his mercies are new every day. And 2018 can be different than 2017, and 2016, and 2010. And it's all about him and what he wants to do in and through you. I encourage you, take this to heart. You are a masterpiece designed by God to do great things. And it's time to get rid of some of the excess and dive into what he has for you. As we move into next year, the pastoral teaching team, we're going to spend some time in January talking about the 5 office gifts of the apostle, the prophet, the evangelist, the pastor, and the teacher. And then we're going to spend some time in the coming months talking about the variety of spiritual gifts. That's why this message was crucial for today, because if we realize, each of us, that we're a salty, luminous masterpiece, and we walk out our gifts and our talents, and we do it collectively as a church, really cool things will happen. Really cool things will happen. Let's pray. Lord, thanks for today. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you for making us awesome. Thank you for using us to further your kingdom and your purpose. Thank you for stirring up the flame inside of us, for reigniting and encouraging us. And Lord, I pray that everyone here walks away realizing that they are awesome. Regardless of what has happened, regardless of what has been done, they are awesome. And I thank you that you have prepared good works for us, Lord. I bless them with peace and with hope and with life as they close the doors on 2017 and openly embrace you in 2018. In your precious name, amen.